Hey, thanks for checking out Four Finger Discount. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more Simpsons videos. Welcome to Four Finger Discount, where this week we are very lucky to be joined by an absolute icon in the Simpsons world. He's a former showrunner, he's a former writer, producer, you name it, he's done it. And today he's here to help us review an episode that he wrote. It is Team Homer, and he is Mike Scully. Mike, thanks for your time. How you doing?
Hey, great. How are you today? Not only have I done it, I've done it terribly.
You're leaving out the most important part of Mike's bio. He's a major shareholder in Mr. Boy of Main Street.
Well, how were your holidays, Mike?
My holidays.
Did you actually get any?
Yeah. No, I'm taking some time off. We had the whole family together, and what else? Went skating with grandkids, and had another another grandkid added to the family about a week ago.
Wow, congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say skating, do you mean ice skating? Do you mean skateboarding?
Ice skating.
Ice skating, yeah. I've never been able to ice skate. Can you ice skate? See, in Australia, we don't have ice anywhere, so...
We have a different kind of ice. I've never tried. I mean, I think the combination of my innate clumsiness and having sharp blades on my feet that could possibly sever a finger or two with, I'm just not for it. I'm happy to watch other people doing it. I mean, it looks incredibly graceful as opposed to roller skating.
Yeah. But I'm assuming most of your time right now, besides being, another grandkid in the house, but it would be that you're doing shifting gears. Is that taking up most of your time at the moment?
No, it's taking up none of my time at all. Julie and I are not associated with the show. We're not working on it.
Oh, so you just created it.
We created it. Yeah, we came up with the show, wrote the pilot, produced it, got it ordered to series, and um, and then we parted ways.
Oh, there we
Gosh.
go. Because I had actually had no idea that you'd created the show. Because I'm looking at it going, really shifting gears? And I'm thinking, wow, because it's apparently it's become a big hit. But so how did that all come about?
There
Or
was
is this a topic we should not broach?
Have you already noticed I'm choosing my words carefully?
Have you noticed I've just crossed off the first 5 questions on my list?
Yeah.
Well, shifting gears to The Simpsons then.
Yeah.
I guess this would be an inopportune to say, do you have any Mel Gibson anecdotes from your time on Complete Savages?
Yeah. No, actually, those Mel was a lot of fun. When we did that show, we had a lot of laughs on there, and he would sit in the writers' room and like pitch jokes and stuff, and he would get genuinely excited if one like made it into the script. He could have just said, "Hey, I'm Mel Gibson. Put the fucking joke in." But he just pitched with the other writers, and he directed several episodes, appeared in a few.
Wow.
It was a fun experience. And he, one vivid memory one night was we were working late. Julie and I had stayed to proofread the script, and he was still in the office, and he came in and he said, "Hey, can I run something by you?" So we said, "Okay." And he gets his laptop and comes in, and he pitches us the entire story of the movie Apocalypto.
What?
And he had been working on it. We didn't know he was working on it. He and another writer had been working on this story on the side, and he just wanted to kind of test the story out on us. And we were blown away. And then whatever it was, 2 years later, we see the movie, and it's exactly the story that he pitched to us that night.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Mike, when you're dealing with 500-pound showbiz gorillas like Mel Gibson or even shifting gears star Tim Allen, I mean, I don't know, is there a commonality to it? I mean, are you seeing sort of like, they're where they are for this reason, or is it very much a case-by-case basis?
Oh, it's very case by case.
Yeah.
Mel, at that time in particular, it was just fun. We are the same age. We have big families. Our kids. We didn't live that far from each other. Our kids were in the same schools, same public schools and stuff. So we already knew each other just like a little bit. And we had worked on some like town like fundraisers, we charity things for they opened a boys and girls club here in the town, and Mel hosted the fundraiser, and Julie and I wrote jokes for him and stuff. So we knew each other. So there was already a relationship before we did Complete Savages. So no, it was actually a good time, and it was fun to watch him direct. He was really like great with the actors, and particularly we had like five young there was kids and who were not very experienced, and he was really good at kind of putting them at ease and making it fun for them. So no, it was all good memories from that show.
Do you enjoy the challenge that the limitations of live action, writing comedy for live action, brings you as opposed to animation like The Simpsons?
Well, I do. I'll tell one very quick funny story about Mel. Actually, it's about my stupidity. But when we were first going to do the show, and he was going to direct the pilot, it's a multicam, sitcom with a studio audience, four cameras, shooting the show like a play simultaneously. So when we were down on we were talking about the show and about him directing it, and I said to I said it's different than movies. I said you're going to have four cameras shooting at the same time, so you got to kind of know where each camera is shooting, and you watch the quad split on this monitor here. And I said, so I just wanted to make sure you knew how different it was than movies because he had never worked in multicam before. So he said, the battle scene in Braveheart. I said, yeah. He goes, I had 18 cameras running at the same time. I said, oh, all right. Well, then this probably won't be a problem.
By the way, we should inform some of our listeners, just in case they're unfamiliar with Complete Savages. It ran in 2004 for one season. Your classic family sitcom about. Forgive me if I'm misrepresenting Mike, but it's a single dad basically raising his five young sons.
Yeah, to kind of get the fun of what is just like a house full of men. Because I grew up with the show, like my three sons, and I mean those kids were like perfect little gentlemen, you know, uh, and they had their Uncle Charlie doing the dishes and stuff like that. So we just wanted to do what would it be like if you really just had a house full of men was the idea behind it. So we the alternate title was sometimes House Full of Homers. So
But getting back to the question though, so do you enjoy the challenge of the limitations that live action brings you when it comes to writing gags? Because with The Simpsons, it's pretty much free reign. You can just write whatever you want, really, can't you?
yeah. It's what I love about it is you get to use different parts of your brain for each style of show that you're working on, and I like being able to go from genre to genre. I found like career wise, it does extend your career to not just do one style of show. Um, but like I had worked on prior to The Simpsons, I had done all multicam shows because that's what the American comedy was
Yeah.
leading up to that. And then, so to go back into multicam was a lot of fun. And because there are the limitations of you've got maybe three or four sets that you have to make everything work in. Different styles of humor. There's stuff you just can't do like in animation kind of, there's always guardrails eventually, financial and time and all that. But suddenly you can do these things that you can't do in a live action show. You can go inside people's heads, you can have fantasies, you can defy gravity. And then doing a show like Parks and Rec, which is single cam, is a little more like movie style, shorter scenes. You're able to go out on locations and do stuff like that. So I've enjoyed like all those the different styles of show. Because the animation when I got on The Simpsons, it was all new to me. I knew nothing about animation and was not a fan of animation.
Really, at all? Wow.
I was when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
growing up, I loved, cartoons growing up, but I felt like as an adult that I had outgrown animation until my wife made me watch an episode of The Simpsons, and it happened to be Bart the Daredevil, and I was like, it was the funniest thing I had ever seen on television. It completely reversed my opinion.
Yeah.
It's something I was really curious about, Mike. I mean, given that you've been, working as a staff writer on various sitcoms prior to coming on board The Simpsons in '93, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you didn't view, David Merkin bringing you on board as, just another gig, given the show, how popular what the show was at the time. But I mean, did you view it as like a step up, an arrival, like I'm at the next level in my career, a learning opportunity? How did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it as a giant step up. I mean, you can go through my IMDb page and see what I had been doing prior to that. And it was not like a ladder, like a steady climb up. It was, if anything, I was crawling down. So no, The Simpsons was a giant step forward and terrifying. The more I, got to know like who was in the room and their background. Can't remember, Brendan, if I had told you last time, but before I started on the show, Vanity Fair magazine put out a profile about a week before I started on the show, and it was like the Simpsons writers' room, the dream team of comedy. And so I bought the
And Mike
magazine.
Scully.
Yeah. I just bought it to kind of learn, more about the people who were in the room,
Yeah.
thinking that would be an asset, for me to go in knowing, the backgrounds of everybody. But then when I read their backgrounds, I got totally freaked out when I saw like all the, like, oh my God, it's a room full of Harvard graduates, and and I didn't go to college, and so I kind of really got in my own head and freaked myself out for the first several months on the show and was terrified to talk. So
Well, that's kind of connected to something else I wanted to ask, Mike. I mean, you as you say, you dropped out of college and you worked this sort of variety of jobs before.
dropped out is kind. I literally stayed for half a day. Yeah, it was.
Technically, you dropped out, so we'll go with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you sort of tried it. You handed a few things, or you made a living doing a few things before heading out
Yeah.
to LA to sort of take a real stab at writing and comedy. I mean, having that kind of life experience and banking those experiences, do you think it sort of made you a better writer, and particularly when it came to The Simpsons in terms of adding texture and color to characters and situations? Because I mean, you hear about so many writers, even Harvard-educated guys like The Simpsons writers rooms, like you're sort of in a pipeline. You haven't had much of a chance to sort of go out into the world and be a person before you actually, sit down and start writing.
Yeah. No, it's funny. When I was on Parks and Rec, Mike Schur, the co-creator of the show, one night we were talking and we were still getting to know each other, and he had asked me about college, which fortunately didn't come up during my job interview. And Mike is from Harvard, so he was asking me about school, and then I told him, the truth about it, that I had just gone to community college for half a day and quit, uh, and he he said, he goes, "My God," he says, "You see, like," he goes, "when you go to Harvard, there's automatically an expectation of success from you. The pressure of, oh, I'm going to this school. I have to become a success when I come out of here." He says, "But you," he goes, "people probably thought you were just going to wind up in jail or dead." So,
Mike Schur, what a guy.
yeah, I know.
I'm glad the comedy thing worked out, because his motivational speaking career would have been shit.
Yeah, but he was not far off. But yeah, so I think everybody, you hope in the room that everybody kind of brings a little something different,
Yeah.
that you're getting, and a lot of it is based because it's Simpsons, because it's family. A lot of the writers are basing it. When you're thinking of stories, a lot of times you're thinking of your family, your childhood
Yeah.
experiences you had, growing up, and then you get to kind of compare each other's things. So I found it actually to be an asset on the show, to be kind of the village idiot education wise.
I'm not going to use that term, Mike, but I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think David Merkin saw in you and your work when he brought you on board? Did you ever talk about this?
I've never actually asked Dave. I've always been super grateful to him because he literally changed my life, and by taking a chance on me. But And actually, I think now that I think back, David did not go to Harvard, so maybe he was looking to mix up the room a little bit.
Hmm.
He had read a couple of my spec scripts. I think he read a Larry Sanders Show script and a Seinfeld sample scripts that I had written, and he liked them. And we kind of hit it off in the meeting. And I had actually seen him perform as a stand-up comic when I first moved out to LA. David was a very funny stand-up, and I remembered some of his bits, and so we were kind of just hitting it off in the room, and it was just one of those meetings where things went well. And I don't know what ultimately pushed it over the line because he definitely had his choice of people, but it worked out great for me.
How did it come about? Is it one of those things like getting onto the Simpsons writing team in the early 90s? How do you get onto that team? Do you have to know somebody and ask for a spot, or do you have to audition or apply? How does it all work?
My scripts had originally gone to over to Gracie Films before they made it to David, and I think I was read by a woman named Polly Platt, who was
Oh, yeah, legend.
yeah, exactly, and she, I think, handed my scripts to Richard Sakai, who read them and liked them. I originally met with them first, so and then they in turn recommended me to David.
Wow.
Well, because as you said, like it was the dream team. It just feels like it must have been so difficult. Do you know, was there a long line of people that you beat to get into that position? Because someone would have had to have been leaving to get for you to get in, right? Or was it just they were adding more people?
I came in at a time when there had been some turnover in the staff from the first couple of seasons. Like Jake Hogan and
Yeah,
Wally
Wally. Yeah.
Wolodarski
Mm.
had just left. Al Jean and Mike Reese were like doing 1 day a week because I think they were I can't they had a show called Teen Angel, or maybe there was The Critic. I can't remember what they were doing. They had a deal over at Disney, I think an overall deal. So they were kind of busy with that. So they would come in 1 day a week, and a couple other people were gone. So the show was in like a bit of a turnover. And David, talk about pressure coming in to run the show. Sam Simon ran the first 2 seasons, then Al Jean and Mike Reese, but they had all been there from day one. David came in from the outside and had not worked on the show on staff. So his first job on the show is showrunner, which is a tremendous amount of pressure. But there was like after I came on, I think a few months later, David Cohen started. And a few months after that, Rich Appel and Jennifer Crittenden. There was like new people coming in around that time.
And when you started, Conan was out. He pretty much wasn't the day you arrived. He said, "I'm."
It was
Yeah.
literally the day I arrived. We shook hands, said hello, and then he got a tap on the shoulder that he had a urgent phone call, and it was the call from NBC telling him that he was gonna be the new late night host.
I love that he just disappeared too, because they said you can't talk to anybody. You're like, where's Conan? Where'd he go?
Yeah, oh, right, yes, yeah. Yeah, there was a period there because they had told him, "Stay in your apartment, do not talk to anyone."
Did you think at some point, what did I do to this guy?
Yeah, well, we were all kind of, a little as the day went on and he didn't come back, there was some concern of, you know,
They're all
should
looking over at Scully going, what did he say
should
to him?
somebody, it was like kind of, should somebody check on him? Or and, being, a room full of comedy writers, we didn't do anything for a while.
Yeah.
He could have been dead somewhere, but I think ultimately he might have gotten in touch with David Merkin just to let him know what was happening and why he can't say anything about it. They were waiting to introduce him on the Tonight Show, like Jay Leno was going to introduce him to America. So
Mike, you mentioned the position of showrunner a little earlier, and I mean, it's a role that you would eventually take on. But I mean, looking at the role and the responsibilities of it, I mean, did you ever think, wow, that's something that I would want to do, or something that I could do, or something that I aspire to? I mean, or did you have that sort of ambition to take the wheel?
no, I actually like never really saw it happening. I mean, I had gotten very, you know, uh, I learned the show and learned how to write it from people like George Meyer and Al Jean and Mike Reese and people like that. And so by the time it happened, I was comfortable. And Bill and Josh had used me and David Cohen sometimes. Like if they couldn't be in the room, they would give one or both of us their scripts, well, with their notes in it, and we might split into 2 rooms and work on 2 different things, that kind of stuff, and they would write, their notes, and I love the way, like, Bill and Josh had a fun way of writing their notes, like, some showrunners might just say, "Better, better," like, they would just
Fix
write
this.
"better," or just
Stupid
put
TV, be more funny.
yes, just yeah, exactly, and or put giant X's through pages of
man.
dialogue, that kind of stuff. And they would write stuff like next to a joke, "Zangier," and then it was left to us to figure out what does "Zangier" mean. But it was, but it was a very kind of Bill and Josh way of, saying, I think, funnier or make this
Mm.
a little
It's
punchier.
okay, but let's make it better. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
50% more zang.
yeah, yeah. But it was almost like a little bit of a Mr. Burns, word like Zangier.
Yeah.
And Bill and Josh were suckers for anything that sounded like old-timey words. They
Yeah.
They
loved.
love that
Yeah.
old Tommy Burns, didn't they? Yes. Well, how did The Simpsons, from a pure comedy sense, you said you had to learn how to write this show. How did writing this show differ from any other comedy you'd written previously?
For starters, it was funny. Uh, um, there was a huge, and some of it was just like a self-imposed, self-inflicted pressure I put on myself, was to not pitch anything you've ever pitched at another
Mm.
show, or a style of joke you might be able to see somewhere else, which eliminates a lot of things that you're thinking of to try to break those habits, was to do something you haven't done or seen before, and which The Simpsons is really good at that style of thing. Or one of the things I did learn too was, and this was kind of like a George Meyer joke kind of a thing, would be to kind of lead the audience toward what you think is going to be a very hacky style joke that you've seen done a million times, and then at the last second twist it in a completely different direction. So let the audience feel smart, like they're a step ahead of you, and then jerk them in the other direction. An example would be, there was an episode set. It was a Super Bowl show where Homer and the guys are at the Super Bowl, and they get there, find out their tickets are counterfeit tickets.
Sunday, Cruddy
And
Sunday. Yeah.
so, yes, that's it. Yeah, and they can't get in, so they're trying to think of a way in, and Homer sees somebody coming by, like with a rack full of halftime show costumes, like marching band, dance, these glittery things, and then Homer looks at it like, it's like there's no way to get in, or is there? Like really big setup. You see the rack of costumes go by, so immediately you're thinking, all right, they're all going to put on these costumes and have to do a halftime show. It's like, instead, what he does is he takes the rack of costumes and hits the security guard with the rack of costumes, and then they all just run inside. Yeah.
I actually, and literally, I remember watching that for the first time when I was younger, when I would have been about 12, and I'm thinking, you got me. Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was learning stuff like that. Yeah. So that kind of thing was like really like mind opening for me. Like, oh shit, we can do that.
Yeah. You took over in season 9. What did you want to
Yes.
protect about The Simpsons that had come before, and what did you feel needed to evolve at that point?
It's weird because, like, at that point, when you get to, like, season 9 of any TV show, if you're lucky enough to get to season 9, when I got there, it was the tail end of season 4 overlapping with the beginning of 5. And, there was already talk then of, this thing will probably, we probably got 2 more seasons left, and then we got to be, thinking of a finale and how to wrap it all up. And because that was the mindset. If your show ran 5 to 7 seasons, you had a great run. Once in a while, you get something that might go 9 or 10, like a Cheers or,
MASH.
MASH, something like that. Yeah, it's where the show, was much longer than the war. in reality. But so it was, going into it. I mean, the first thing, and I think anybody who's run the show would probably say the same thing. The first thing is, please don't wreck it. Is do not sink this,
Don't crash
like
daddy's car.
don't it's Rupert Murdoch's biggest cash cow.
But did anyone say that though, or was that just self-imposed fear that you put on yourself again though?
It's self-imposed. Yeah, you're thinking of the show's great. People love this show. Don't wreck it. You know, and then try to and you can do some stories that maybe you've had in your head and or maybe you've pitched in the past that didn't get on, but you want to try to be true to what the show is, but not just copy what's already been
Yeah.
done. That's the trickiest part of all. You want to just go back to like these like classic episodes. Let's do the monorail again, but let's make it about a bus,
Yeah.
or something.
Did you feel
Um,
like you had to change the show in any way? Or did you go into the mentality going, all right, now I can make my version of the show? Or does it just naturally come that way?
No, I never thought like let's make my version of the show. It was let's keep this thing going. Let's find new things to explore if we can. Be true to what's been done in the past. Bend the rules where we can, and try to take it in some new areas too. I mean that's just natural thing to want to try. But yeah, it was a lot of like a lot of don't sink this very successful ship.
I
Mm.
imagine having 9 seasons under your belt, or the show having under its belt, is both a blessing and a curse. I was like, we've built up enough goodwill and enough of a foundation that, we know who these characters are, we know what these situations are. We've got a bit of latitude to work with here, but also, yeah, what do we do next? Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're thinking of stories, the biggest thing you run into is we've done it,
Yeah.
or we've done something too close to it, that
Mm.
that sort of thing. So trying to find fresh areas, or I remember looking for things, characters that you could hang a story on, that where you could try out different things. And then the trick is, how do you keep the Simpsons involved in the story?
Yeah.
So you're not just, sending this one character off into their own thing. So those were always like fun to try when something worked, or yeah, when you found something that you didn't have previously, and want to explore that more. We did, there was like an evolution of Apu, where
Married?
we had him get married and have kids, and it's like that. There was even talk at one point. I remember going to lunch with the then president of Fox, and he asked me like if there was one character from the show you could spin off into their own series, who would it be? And without thinking, I mean, without hesitation, I said, "Oh, Apu." And and then he said, "Well, who plays Apu?" I said, "Well, Hank Azaria." And he goes, "Oh, he'll be too expensive. What?
Yeah.
Who else?" I was like, I don't know what he expected me to say. Like,
It's right though. The Apu character is so beloved, and it's such a shame that he's just been
Mm.
sidelined now. For obvious reasons, I get it, but I don't. But he was such a cornerstone when it comes to the secondary characters. He was one of the pillars.
he was it was one of my favorite characters because, and when they talked about the network brought up spinoff, the reason I thought of him is because he has a completely different take on America
Yeah.
than The Simpsons. I mean, he actually is the embodiment of the American dream. He
That's right.
came here, nothing. He works literally 24 hours a day. He's the hardest worker. He appreciates the country in a way that we take for granted.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say all the things that people take for granted. He respects and loves it for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like did I understand when the issue was brought up? Yeah, I understood it from a kind of a, job opportunity level playing field thing of like, oh yes, if we were putting this character in later in the show, we would have opened the casting up. But the and you've probably heard this, the one of the things that studios love about animation is casting wise, you're trying to find people who can do as many characters as possible.
Sure.
So you're not paying 50 actors every episode. And that's how a lot of these decisions got made. What I loved about Hank's portrayal of the character is I thought there was nothing like mocking about it. I thought he gave the character great humanity, and which is why we leaned on him so heavily, that character. And so I had my own feelings about that, documentary. That I'm not speaking for the show. I'm just speaking strictly for myself. Yeah, well, to
Mm.
be honest, when I did watch it. I said, "All right, I'll sit down and watch this thing and see what they have to say." And then, and there was like it felt like a little more of an attack on Hank than a show about this character's impact on the Indian community. But also, I remember a sequence where Hari he was talking to his parents about the character and trying to get their he clearly, like, kinda wanted them to tell, like, about how Apu had, negatively impacted their life, and they didn't seem to have big problems
No.
with and it felt like he was kinda nudging them a little bit. Yeah, but didn't you
It seemed like his parents were roasting him at some stage as well, saying, "You sound like Apu today."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Apu was very rarely the butt of the joke as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a fun character, and I think all the writers, like, miss writing him in the show. I think that ultimately there was kinda no way was, like, decided on how to handle it, so it just kinda the character kinda fell away. But, it was a, great character, and I thought Hank did a great job.
Hank has been outspoken. He says he would never want to voice him again. But I do think if they did find another voice actor who could who do a similar voice, I think you could bring him back. I think enough time has passed. Bring back Apu.
I'd be open to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be open to it. It is, like, weird sometimes when voices change in animated shows. I remember as a kid, watching the Flintstones, all the time, and then there was at one point, they changed the voice of Barney Rubble, and I remember as a kid, I was probably 10 years old, it really pissed me off. I just like it's like, "That's not Barney Rubble."
Well, my kids are big Muppet fans, and the current voice of Kermit, God bless him, sounds nothing like Henson or Steve, the previous voice of Kermit. And
Oh,
my kids watched some recent Muppet movie, a Haunted Mansion special, something Disney Plus, and my son went, "That's not Kermit. That's the because the guy that voices Kermit now is the guy that played a Kermit villain in a recent movie, and it's the Kermit voice, but it's got a bit of a funny tone to it, and that's just the voice he uses for Kermit now." And he's going, "That's not Kermit. That's the imposter from the movie." I'm like, "No, son. That's the real Kermit now. He's just gonna have to deal with it."
Yeah, I think, particularly when you grow up watching something, the voices just get embedded in your
Yeah.
head, like,
Oh,
and this
absolutely.
is how they sound, to you, and so and, we don't like change. Yeah,
And
so
perhaps even more so with voice acting as opposed to physical act. I mean, everyone goes on about, well, not everyone, because Bewitched is not quite in the zeitgeist these days, but the whole, we had Dick York and now we've got Dick Sargent, or the other way around. I remember never being that bunched up about it. I mean, I would come home from school and watch Bewitched in an afternoon. It's like, okay, well, now it's Darren A as opposed to Darren B. But yeah, I think with an animated, with voice actors or on an animated show, it's kind of like, yeah, that's not hitting right. Yeah, that's throwing off my internal barometer.
yeah, and I hate to disagree with you, but I hated Dick Sargent.
Well, what do we do then when the current voice cast can't voice the show anymore? Because he's saying people don't like change, and it's their roles until they don't want to do it anymore. But can you replace them? I just don't know whether you can.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It would throw me, to have to get, used to to get used to that. So,
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess, we've been lucky to not have to deal with that situation.
exactly. And hopefully it's a long time from now. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say? Because people talk about the Scully era. What do you think personally is the most common misconception that fans have about the Scully era? of the show?
Uh, it's called, those 4 years. It's, let's see, there was, probably there was too many silly episodes. And I don't know if Jerkass Homer got hung on me or had started happening.
I mean, it does get assigned to your era. That's where Jerkass Homer began. It's where a lot of people say it. Yeah. And then does that bother you when you hear people say these things?
Yeah, of course, yeah, you want to hear that people are just, loving the show like that. But, we go back and it's funny, like when I started on the show, that was right around the time like the internet had come along, like alt TV Simpsons.
Yeah. Worst
And
episode ever. Yeah.
that's where it started then. And now they look at like seasons 5 and 6 and, like when they started that shit, and they're now considered classic,
The pinnacle of
years.
television. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny, like, stuff that they hated at the time. I always kinda maintain that they're and maybe this is just a self-defense mechanism, because, the style of the show is that every episode resets at the end to the status quo. They're not continuing storylines, like, I don't think there's so much good seasons and bad seasons. I think there's, you know, great episodes and there's bad episodes. And I did my share of bad episodes.
What would you consider a bad episode? Do you have anything on the top of your mind?
It's I don't like to single out episodes because people worked so hard
Exactly.
on
And people might love
it.
it.
And
Yeah. Well, one
but
thing I've found being a parent is I've learnt that when you're a kid, you're not critiquing The Simpsons, you're just watching it, right? So my
yeah,
kids are watching the current season 37 episodes, and they love them. They watch them. They watch them on repeat. And
yeah,
it made me realize finally, you know what? The Simpsons isn't the Simpsons that I grew up with, but The Simpsons is now the Simpsons what my kids want to watch. It's
yeah.
it's the show evolves because it's a kids show. At the end of the day, it's adults can enjoy, but it is a kids show. And my kids love the new episodes. They love the old ones, but they'll often go, "Can we put the new ones on?" Whether it be because it looks in high definition, I'm not too sure, but they love the new episodes. And I just have to go, I had my era. I grew up with my show. This is their era of the show now, and they will look back in 20 years and go, "How good were those episodes?"
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, there's a lot of that too about like Saturday Night Live because it's
Yeah.
been on 50 years, and it's like, who was your favorite cast? What was the best? And the consensus is your favorite years of SNL were the years like you were in high school and you watched the show every week. You kind of discovered the show, and so those automatically become your favorite seasons. And for The Simpsons, I think, a lot of, kids discover it like, maybe they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Or now I think a lot of kids discover it like their parents expose them to it.
That's me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because they grew up with it. So I think it's kind of when it's all like fresh and new to you, it can be your favorite. It can be your favorite show. 'Cause, yeah, I think, like you're saying, like, even now, I think they're doing tons of, like, really funny episodes.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I
I
think Matt's
can
doing
wa
Matt's doing wonders as showrunner.
Yes, I think the show, he's, like, not afraid to, like, take big swings or break the form and experiment, and, I think that's, a way, to keep a show fresh and interesting, and not repeat yourself. They're up to whatever 800 episodes. You've got to try new stuff.
Mike, you mentioned we were talking about sort of Jerkass Homer before, but I wanted to talk a bit about Homer because I read a quote from you saying Homer comes naturally to me. That's what you said. And I mean, and we're here today to talk about Team Homer. I really like Homer in this episode. I mean, you get his flaws, but in a funny way, and you also, more importantly, you sort of get his virtues. I mean, I think it's great how sort of positive and proactive he is throughout the episode. I mean, for
Okay,
you.
yeah.
What comes to mind when you think of Homer?
Well, the John Swartzwelder line about writing Homer is think of it as you're writing for a dog who can say his name. Uh, that being
Oh,
said, I think we all kind of write Homer. There's like elements of our own dads in there. Uh, you know, I But also too, I think, when he is like caring, I think there's some like wonderful, and even during like my years, there are like Homer Lisa episodes, and some fun like Homer and Marge, stuff. But I think, I guess the feeling is like Homer sometimes, it's weird. You go back to like the early, like maybe season one of the show where Homer was an angrier guy,
Mm.
and a little kind of a meaner character, and then he evolved, into kind of like the dumb and lovable, yeah, the dog version of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Homer, which wasn't there from the beginning. And then you got to find new ways to do it. And I remember we were having conversations season 5 about, we got to stop doing these food jokes with Homer. We're leaning too hard on the food, like this and
Yeah.
that, and sometimes you go away from it for a while, and then somebody comes up with a great one that we haven't done before, and maybe a slight twist on it, and then you wind up putting it back in again. So sometimes the stories lead more naturally. Personally, I would get bored if Homer was constantly doing the dumb thing that he has to apologize for at the end of the show. So that was actually kind of the episode in season 14, which was technically the last one that I ran. Like Al Jean, because there was a delay in the schedule. I think there was actors negotiations going on, and the season started late. So Al wasn't going to have time to do all 22. So he asked me if I wanted to do one, and that became the how I spent my Strummer vacation.
One of my
Mhm.
favorite post what they call golden era episodes. It's fantastic. The use of guest stars in that was so great.
Yeah, it was, one of the things I love about that episode is I wanted Homer to do something really kind of like cruel and insensitive, but not have the show lead to him apologizing at the end of the episode. I mean, it took I had that idea kicking around for a long time. I had the first act of the show in my head for a long time.
Is that the one where he's in the taxi and he vents about his family in the taxi? Is that one?
Mm.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
the line, and then he, sees himself on the taxi cab confessions
Yeah.
style show, and says that, basically how getting married and having kids crushed all of his dreams,
I mean,
basically.
you say cool and sensitive. He's kind of just saying what a lot of us were thinking. Like,
Yeah.
and,
So
and, it
the
wasn't like,
fun
and wasn't saying it to his kids. He was just getting stuff off his chest.
Yeah, and then them watching it, and then him trying to, like, explain it to them in an apologetic way in the moment. He says the line, "Getting married." Oh god, I don't wanna fuck this up. Oh, "Marriage is like a coffin, and each kid is another nail," and he's thinking that this is gonna get him off the hook, because that's a line I've actually said to my family, and then I stuck it in that episode. Um And so I did not want the rest of the show to be Homer realizes he screwed up and is trying to make amends, and ultimately everything works out fine. When I finally had the thought of Marge realizing, he actually has a point, even though he said it in a horrible,
Mhm.
hurtful
We know
way.
what he meant. Yeah.
Exactly, like, he does give up a lot for us, he does do this, and it was kind of a fresh take on that kind of a story and they wind up actually surprising him with this gift of going to rock and roll fantasy camp. So that was just my way of not doing of him being jerk-ass Homer, and then not spending the rest of the episode of him apologizing for it.
Plus, it gave you a good reason to meet Mick Jagger and Keith Richards.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that was kind of my, fantasy camp.
Wait, did you have like a bucket list of people you wanted to meet via The Simpsons? Like, all right, we need to get this guy. We need to get that guy on.
Yeah, it's funny. Originally, I was writing the episode. There was I had heard, this guitar player named Leslie West, who's passed away now, and he had a band called Mountain, in the 1970s. They had one kind of big hit, Mississippi Queen, and he was running. I heard him on Howard Stern being interviewed, and he was promoting this thing he was starting called Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Um, and he was having like it was going to be like Alice Cooper and I think Cheap Trick, and I forgot who some of the other people were. And I thought, oh, that's when the whole thing kind of came together of Marge realizing Homer has a point, and we're going to give him this gift. Well, anyway, we started working on it, and we're breaking the story. We broke the story like that day. It just kind of fell into place because we had never done like Homer having a point. I was of saying something horrible about his family, and but actually having a point at the same time.
It's true, but he shouldn't say it, basically.
Yeah, and so I was writing the script with those kind of people in mind to do it. And Denise Sercott from Gracie Films used to work in the music business. She got a phone call from a friend of hers who was like a road manager, tour manager for the Stones. He called her up and said, listen, the guys are going out on the road next year. Is there some way that we could like get them on the show, and do something that would tie in with what the time that they're actually going to be out there. So like suddenly we realized like holy shit, we could get Mick and Keith like on the show.
You got Petty, you got Kravitz,
Yeah,
Costello,
yeah.
I think.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It was a really like fun group that came together once Mick and Keith were involved.
Yeah.
And Petty, I've always loved and always thought he was really funny guy. He did like a semi-regular character on King of the Hill for a little
He
while.
did.
That's right, yeah.
And
We do
he
a King of the Hill
appeared.
podcast as well. So
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Andy also like he had been on Gary Shandling's first show and the Larry Sanders Show. So I knew he was funny, and I was a giant fan. Elvis Costello, I loved. Lenny Kravitz also was a fan of, and then that came through. Mick was working with Lenny Kravitz at the time on a solo album or something, and he asked if Lenny could be in the show. Like, yeah, sure, absolutely.
I just love to be a fly on the wall for these conversations.
So that's how it kind of all fell together. I think the one person I kept from the first draft of the script to what it became was Brian Setzer. And other than that, though, we started trading, and we wrote some extra segments. There was there was a bit for Jimmy Page and Robert Plant.
Oh, wow.
because you wanted them to come on, or they were going to and then didn't.
No, we were going to send it to them.
Okay, yeah.
I wrote stuff for them and a couple other people, and then we just realized this is getting too big. It's going to be too hard to get all these people in, so we had to cut it down. I did ask Bonnie Raitt to do it because I thought it'd be fun to have a female in there, and Bonnie was like, "I'm no actress. I do my thing," but
Joan
she
Jett
didn't
could have
want.
worked.
I wish I had gone further on it. In hindsight, I should have gone after like Chrissy Hind or somebody like that. Would have been great to have, but
Debbie Harry.
Oh, Debbie Harry. See, that would have been, it would have been, yeah, it would have been so great to have a lot of those people in. But anyway,
You're really good. I feel like your era was used guest stars really well. I particularly loved your use of the Who as well in the episode that had the town divided into two. Do you remember that one?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. But with Team Homer though, you mentioned it. We're here to review Team Homer. We should probably get to Team Homer.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
It's always been one
I
of
was
my.
I was too busy defending Jerkass Homer.
There's a whole podcast we can do doing that. I think I'm all ears, but it's one of my favorite episodes. This one, I think it's just one of my favorite eras of the show. I think it's when I first discovered The Simpsons, season 6, 7, 8. But I think for two reasons, this particular episode is I love the sports ones, and you've written a couple of the sports episodes. I'm a big fan of the sports episodes of The Simpsons, but I also just love seeing characters who you wouldn't normally see hanging out together, teaming up for something. That's what we get here. We get, the pin pals. I've always wondered, what was your process for getting to which characters were going to make up the original pin pals with Otto, Apu, and Mo?
So, great question. I mean, I already loved Homer, and Moe's kind of a favorite of mine. So, I knew guys like that when I was a kid. We had a bar very close to our house where there was bartenders like that, and but Otto seemed like a fun it was just like characters who don't cross. Like Homer and Moe were already friends,
Yeah.
but like Homer and Otto don't cross paths a lot, and we also just thought it would have Apu would be fun to add to the team. It's like you said, it's getting characters you don't often see hanging out together. It's weird because rewatching the episode, they act almost like they don't know who Otto is
Yeah.
at the beginning.
That long-haired freak.
That long-haired freak, yeah.
But it's great because you've got all these other teams that are either brought together by their work relationship, like, I'm sorry, this Springfield Police Framers is just a fantastic name for a team, but, or they're bound by religion, or they're home wreckers, or stereotypes. Yeah, so all these people are like, well, they're all of a set. They all naturally fit together, and then you've got the Pin Pals who are, yeah, sort of this disparate group who have just sort of come together out of necessity or out of sort of desperation. It's a nice contrast, I think.
Yeah, and I had forgotten the initial shirts they had, just the T-shirts with it scrawled.
Yeah.
I had completely forgotten that because I got used to like the shirt you have on.
Yeah.
That Fox started merchandising, and I never saw a penny from.
I'll send you one of these.
The first time I saw it was in a store.
Yeah?
I had no idea they were even merchandising them.
It's amazing how much The Simpsons is merchandise now. I feel like there was a good while there where it was just your basic merchandise, the family on a T-shirt, I think. But now they're really going to more niche stuff like the Pin Pal shirts. And I know a while ago they did Pin Pal's bowling balls, but didn't they give the cast and crew bowling balls at the time when this episode came out?
Yeah. I still remember the day. They're really cool. Like they're yellow balls and red writing. It's The Simpsons. But there was one day where they brought somebody to the lot to drill all the balls for everyone's finger size.
Oh.
So we all lined up to get our fingers measured for the balls. Yeah.
Mike, there's bowling all over the world. I mean, even Australia has bowling alleys, but it seems to me like I know, but it seems like a very American thing, like the Great American Equalizer. I was wondering, I mean, even if you're not great at bowling, you can have a great time while you're bowling. I mean, was that? I guess I'm asking, why bowling?
Well, it was.
I know you were bowling with your kids at the time a bit or something you said, but yeah.
Yes, because I grew up in Massachusetts where we have something called candlepin bowling, which is bowling. The balls are smaller; they're almost like cannonball size, and the pins are shaped differently. They're called candle pins because they're kind of candle-ish shaped, I think.
Yeah.
But
Is that
anyhow,
only in Massachusetts?
this is in Springfield, Mass. Yeah, where I grew
yeah.
up. And so as a kid, I did it a lot. And then when I started, having kids, it was one of the things we would do together. Still do it. Yeah, we still do it now. But also, I remember when I was thinking of the story, bowling, there was a lot of bowling in like the early episodes of The Simpsons. The Barney's Bowlerama was kind of a regular place you would see in the first few seasons of the show. And then it kind of fell away. So I wanted to kind of bring that back again to just put the bowling back in the show because it had already been established.
Plus, you also had the episode from the first season with Jacques and Marge as well.
Yes, yeah. So that I knew there was stuff we could, refer to, and it was already in the world. It wasn't like Homer discovers bowling. It was, we could kind of jump in faster.
And it just seems like a quintessentially Simpsons kind of sport or pastime. I mean, you wouldn't see them playing tennis or squash or something like that. It's like, no, but they would bowl.
I mean, the Flintstones bowled, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it was a big part of the Flintstones. Yeah, exactly. And walking in when it's, when you do go out with your friends, the worst thing that can happen is you walk in and it's league night, and then you can't get a lane.
And I like that you established here that Lunch Lady Doris is apparently the mother of Squeaky Voice Team, which apparently was canon for about 30 seasons, and then they changed it last year.
Oh, yeah, that surprised me when I saw it. And when I'm rewatching it, I was like, oh, shit, I completely forgot that.
And that this actually aired, I think it was 2 weeks after Doris passed away.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
yeah, she passed away December 30th, and this aired, so maybe a week. Yeah, this January 7th, I think it was. Yeah, so this was her first appearance post her death. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. Now, she was so funny.
She was script supervisor, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. But they had loved her voice, and they had already used her. I think before I got to the show, she was already established. So yeah, she was super funny.
I'd like to ask about Mad Magazine. and it's prevalent influence in this episode. I mean, is it a shout out from the writers' room acknowledging that this might have been a bit of a formative influence on our sense of humor? Because it's both sort of paying tribute to Mad, but also it's like a lot of these gags are pretty hackneyed.
Yeah, yes. But no, it definitely was. There was like a lot of love in the writers' room for Mad Magazine. And, it was kind of when you were a kid, it was kind of like for me, it was like a step up from comic books. Like, oh, this
Yeah.
is different. And a lot of times I remember buying them and it was really for like the cover or like something on the cover, or I'd open it up and see what the parody was, like what the big, and
Yeah.
it was always something with black, in the title or something. And then I would start to read them as a kid, but they were so wordy. These movie things, I would always lose interest while I was reading them.
I remember being a kid watching this episode. I would have been, as I said, like 7 or 8 maybe, and going, I don't know what Bart's laughing at here. I don't get it.
But I was a fan of like snappy answers to stupid questions because they're just jokes.
Were you great at them?
No.
Well, you were saying that, like we were saying, the bowling idea came from bowling with your kids. What do you think are some of the best episodes that stemmed from real life experiences of yourself or someone else in the writing room?
Oh gosh. I mean, speaking for myself, Bart shoplifting.
I was going to say, Marge Being Not Proud is probably up the top for me because I did the exact same thing. I got caught stealing a magazine and my mum's reaction was exactly what Marge did here. And I went, this is what happened to me.
Yes. I mean, emotionally, it was exactly what my biggest fear was that didn't ultimately happen. But my big fear was my mom finding out. So I got to kind of play out my fear of what might have happened had she found out about it.
Well, you got it right because that's exactly what my mum did. She was just
Yeah.
disappointed.
Oh, thank you. I mean, once like all the episodes, it's all like it's such a like collaborative team effort to get those done. I remember when I went back to watch on Disney Plus, I had forgotten that in the air order, like Homer airs right before Marge Be Not Proud or vice versa. And I was like, wait a minute. I had to like think like, how did that happen? Because Team Homer is a David Merkin episode, and Marge Be Not Proud is Bill and Josh. And then I remembered that we had overlaps for a while. You were doing holdover shows, and there was like Merkin had he was doing some. Alan Mike did a couple, and then like season 9 is kind of a hodgepodge of. There's 22 episodes. I think 16 were me, and then there's like a couple of Bill and Josh, a couple of Merkin, and a couple of Alan Mikes, all spread throughout season 9. It's like popping up in different places.
You get assigned to Principal and the Pauper, and it wasn't you. It was Bill and Josh.
Right, yeah. Oh, what do you mean? It says me?
So, no, so people always go, yeah, Scully season 9, Principal and the Pauper, we hate that episode. And it's like, it was Bill and Josh.
Mike Scully innocent.
Principal and the Pauper ruined the Simpsons. It's like, well, it wasn't Scully.
Yeah, shit on me for some other ones, but
Yeah, exactly. But you also wrote Lisa on Ice, another sports episode that I absolutely love, but they have two completely different endings, really, these two sports episodes here. I'm more of the emotional ending kind of guy. I like that.
Yeah.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer those emotional endings like the Do It For Her or the Bart and Lisa flashback embrace at the end of the hockey game? Or do you prefer ones like this? I mean, or does this just depend on what story's being told?
It really depends on the story being told. And because I think, and I the emotional ones, I think sometimes like stay with people longer. But I think if you do it every week, and you just kind of know it's coming.
People expect it, yeah.
You're just expecting it. I think when you have different styles of endings, the audience doesn't know, so you can still surprise them, with like a really sweet emotional moment and just end the show there, or you can go a step beyond and do a joke ending, So I like, for me personally as a viewer, I like not expecting to know, like, because American sitcoms, particularly, like I would say, in the 80s, you could almost like time like clockwork of where the emotional moment was coming, and literally the networks would say to writers, they said it to us once on Savages. ABC said, "Where's the ABC hug?" It's like, oh man, did you buy the wrong show?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I think if you tried to put an emotional ending on Team Homer, where the Pin Pals all have a nice group hug and everything like that, it's like, I think the audience would kind of think, I don't think the Pin Pals are hanging out after this. I think Homer's going to go and see Mo at the bar. I think he'll go see we'll go see Apu at the Quickie Mart. But yeah, these guys aren't hanging out after hours or anything like that. I think they've had their run.
I love that they bail on him as well at the end.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But having said that, you really have built up some genuine emotion and genuine connection between these characters in the lead up as well, which I think is, it's really marvelous that you have that bait and switch at the end.
No, to see the bonding, of the team, and also Burns wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And the friendship thing, like that it actually means something to him. Which makes Homer kind of blurting out, "You're off the team."
Yeah.
I don't know. For once, Homer actually stays on task.
That's it. Homer in this episode is actually very responsible because he's torn because he wants to help. He's almost like the unspoken captain of the team, of this bowling team, and he wants to do what's best for the team. But he also has the dilemma of, well, it's his boss. He needs to stay employed. And this guy, the boss, is responsible for them having the team in the first place. So what do I do? And he was going to fall on the sword for the team, for the better of the team, and say you're off the team. But by that point, Mo and Apu had been swayed by the Pin Pals jumpers shirts.
Yes, yeah. And actually that joke of Burns, talking about how much it means to him to be in a normal sitcom of that time, you knew Homer was there, Homer's there to kick him off the team. What would happen is Burns would say whatever his lines are, and the person would not kick him off the team. They would be unable to do it. Yeah. So the fact that Homer just lets him finish the whole thing and goes, "You're off the team." It's like, once again, the audience thinks they know where we're headed.
Yeah.
There are some, just dynamite bits like that, or just edits as well. I mean, I think it may be one of the most perfect cuts I've ever seen in a Simpsons episode is you cut to Homer and Marge in bed, and Marge is saying, "No, I will not pay you $500 for sex." I'm sorry. I almost had to stop the show for a second and laugh for just like a minute, because I just thought, first of all, that's a great line, but it was just edited in so perfectly. So yeah, I mean, all those great rug pulls. There's so many in this episode.
And she doesn't have that kind of money to spend on sex.
No, Homer really values his sexual prowess. Apparently, it's $500.
It's like the 1993.
It's one of the constant themes of the show that we love, is that it seems that Marge and Homer, their sex life is rocking. All their faults aside, it seems they might have their faults in their fights, but it seems like their sex life is pretty strong. It seems like Homer's a bit of a dynamo in the sack. But getting back to the emotion of this episode, I do think there's a lot of emotion in there, because you're touching on how Burns wanted to be part of the team. I do think we do see a vulnerable side of the evil Burns here, where I remember as a kid watching this thinking, well, was Burns always going to fool them? No, I think he actually enjoyed being a part of this team. And it wasn't until the end where he saw them with the trophy and he went, wait a minute. No. Yeah. I want that to myself.
Actual filthy Luca gets involved. Yeah, I'll take that.
Trademark change of the heart, as he says.
Well, that line that he said, I mean, I've always been wealthy, but this is the first time I've felt rich. I mean, that feels like Gary Cooper in Pride of the Yankees or something. Yeah. It's like, that's really touching. That's really, and then you get wrong-footed. Then you get rug pulled.
As a writer, how do you know when to not add a gag to the end of an emotional scene? When do you know to let the emotion sit?
Oh man, that's always hard, particularly if you happen to love the joke that comes out. You can try to rationalize to yourself, well, no, it doesn't hurt at all, right? You're still getting the impact of both, but sometimes, and I'm guilty of it too, is sometimes that joke, even if it's a good joke, undercuts the nice moment that you just had, and you hope you make the right decision. But I wish I could say I always do, but can't guarantee it. It's always tricky. It's always tricky.
Do you enjoy being able to tap into that more vulnerable side of characters like Burns?
Yeah, I think it's more of a challenge, to get the audience to care about a character like that.
And believe that he's actually caring as
Mm.
well.
Yeah, and to find a reason that feels like that could be within that character, like because Burns is so isolated, he leads such a isolated lifestyle that being with these, being part of a team would be a new feeling for him.
Do you feel the character of Burns evolved to a point where he wasn't intimidating anymore? Because we're up to season 21 now, and it feels like no one in Springfield really is scared of Burns anymore. Where in these first, 12 seasons or so, it felt like he was still scary to them, and they didn't want to. They didn't know what he was going to do, so it's like we just won't offend him or we won't bother him. It got to a point there where it almost felt like Burns was a wimp.
Yeah, no, I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, because we were always trying to find a story because we love the character so much. To find like if you want to hang a story on Burns, you have to find that emotion, that emotional thing that carries you through to make you care about him. So when that happens, you have to kind of soften some edges on the character. Maybe that's what you're referring to. It happens too, like doing a story maybe about Mo or
Yeah.
Krusty. We'd have to kind of round off the edges a little bit, just to get the audience to buy in and care a little bit more. But Burns is always a great, he was always a great villain.
Yeah.
And there was years where, we did like a lot of the episodes where Homer like quits his job to go after some new occupation that he says, that, and we would do the scene of Homer quitting the job. And then we had done it so many times, we finally stopped doing it.
I was going to say, did it come to a point where you just went, audiences are just going to believe this regardless now, so we're not going to even bother making the attempt to do it?
Yeah, so you would save two scenes. You would save the scene of where he goes to Burns to quit the job, and then save the scene where he has to go to Burns to beg for his job back.
Yeah, exactly. I think nothing can top when he plays Burns' head like a bongo and then literally burns the bridge behind him. That's the pinnacle. You can't
Yes.
get better than that, right?
Yeah, I think that the burning the bridge, I believe, is a Swartzwelder uh, joke. I believe it's Swartzwelder episode, and I can't remember if this is the same episode or not. Where
What's when he goes to work at the bowling alley? That's that one.
Oh no, this might be a different one. I can't remember what it is. And Marge says, "Can't you get your job back?" And Homer goes, "Not the way I quit." And it might be one where we didn't even see what he did.
Yeah, we didn't see it. No, that's right. Yes.
No, that's one of my favorite Swartzwelder jokes.
But even Mo shows a softer side here. And we do see softer side of Mo throughout the show. But it's a big part of what makes The Simpsons so great, I think, is that there are so many characters that aren't just the main family that have so many levels of depth to them.
Yeah, no, it's when you can find those and it doesn't feel forced, where you can kind of buy it and find a way to feel sorry for this character. Those are it's fun when you can do it. You have to do it, but it's fun when if you can find something that really feels like, yeah, I could believe that whatever that insecurity or whatever we're going to tap into is inside this person somewhere, even though we've never seen it before.
Yeah.
And when you find a way to phrase it like, I'm better than dirt. Well, not that fancy store-bought dirt. That stuff's loaded with nutrients. You can't compete with that stuff.
Now, rewatching the episode, I did love, there's such a great mix of kind of angry Mo and wildly insecure Mo.
You spend years resisting the urge to punch him in the face, and for what?
Well, of course, they're two sides of the same coin. They're naturally part of his personality.
Yeah.
Do you go back and watch these episodes and feel proud?
I don't like actually I'll go back to watch it, like to do something like this just to refamiliarize them. But no, I'm super proud of, the whole like series, just to have been a part of it. Yeah, it's a great feeling, to have been part of the show and like to meet, all the great, writers and actors and everybody, directors, everyone that's worked and been a part of the show and made their contribution to it. Yeah, it'd be crazy to not be proud of it,
What's one thing you find is it just feels like everyone who worked for The Simpsons loved not just working on The Simpsons, but loved working with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very respectful writer's room, which was not always, the case, particularly like in the 80s and stuff because writers' rooms, they're made up of a lot of different personalities and sometimes in the 80s, some of those personalities might have been, coked up a little bit. So, I kind of came in as that was fading out.
How do you feel about that, Mike?
Yeah. I think it was good for me that it was not part of my experience. I was more hearing stories
Mhm.
about it than actually like witnessing it. A lot of writers' rooms, I mean, there will be arguments, and you try to be. The Simpsons room is incredibly respectful, and particularly for a room that was very big. Like when I got there, there was over 20 writers on the show,
Wow.
God.
and yet everyone, we did have arguments for sure, but you're crazy to not listen to somebody's opinion because they're good enough to be on that show, and you wanna get the best out of everyone helping you, and you hope they feel the same way, like when you're working on their script, that everyone's contributing to each other's stuff, so it's, yeah, I got nothing but positive, feelings about the show.
It sounds like there was mutual respect and mutual admiration in the
Yeah,
among
absolutely.
yeah. Because there's nothing worse than sort of getting feedback or having to give feedback to someone's like, I think you might be a bit of a medium talent there, pal.
Yeah.
Plus, there's also the element of everyone knows how
Dando
lucky.
has to do this all the time with me.
There's also the element of everyone knows how lucky they are to have this particular gig too. So it's like, I don't want to screw this up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But can you recall a gag, without naming names, that you had to fight to get on the show? That actually did make it through. That someone in particular did not want it on, and you had to fight for it, and eventually it got through.
Oh, like in the writers' room, you mean, fight?
Yeah.
It's never been my style to, like,
Flash.
yeah, I don't, like, if one person, like, doesn't like a joke, but the rest of the room is laughing, then, like, usually the joke will make its way in for that reason alone. But, you also wanna listen to if someone does have, like, an opinion, like a negative opinion, you wanna know, like, where is it coming from? Like, but I don't know, I've always felt like, "Okay, you don't like that? Here's something else," or, we'll come up with something else. The room is good enough. We'll always come up with something else. So I don't worry about that. I just don't honestly remember any big, big fights. I mean, there were, awkward moments, or maybe somebody fights a little too long for a joke
Yeah.
or something.
A background sign gag that no one's going to even see.
Yeah. You also too, you remember, particularly once we were like working on, computers in the room, like you get for each joke that's in the show, you usually have two or three others that are equally as good. So we save those jokes in case during the process the joke that was picked to put in it doesn't work. So you can go back instead of starting from scratch. You can sometimes like have it's already like you click a box on the script and other jokes pop up that you pitched 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So it can be a time saver.
Can you recall how long it took you, maybe not long at all, before you felt confident enough to say, I don't think that works, when you were in the Simpsons writers' room?
Well, when you're running the show, you have to say it,
Yeah.
because you ultimately have to make decisions on stories and jokes and things like
Did you
that.
find that difficult?
Yes, because be, because on that show, like I said, I look around that table and there's like you said, 19 Harvard graduates and the village idiot here. So I always had a rule to myself too. If they were all laughing at, I'd be like, if the room was laughing at something, I would, put it in. And to be honest, there were occasions where I didn't even get the joke, but all these writers who are way smarter than me are laughing. So I'm going to go out on a limb that it's probably a great joke and put it in, and I'll look it up later to see what it means.
Do you think the casual viewer, though, is watching the show through your eyes? Someone who, didn't go through all the Harvards and whatnot, a college graduate, or they're watching through the eyes of these writers? If you don't get that gag, do you think the casual view of The Simpsons is going to get it?
I don't know. I can't be like bogged down with that.
Yeah.
If I know like somebody's going to find something funny and there may be somebody who doesn't, I mean, that's just kind of comedy in general. I
Yeah.
think, there's sometimes you're putting in stuff like, on occasion, like just for the room or for a very small
Yeah.
group of fans, but that small group is gonna love it.
They're going to be quoting it 20 years from now.
Yes, yeah, yeah. There's an episode, oh shoot, I can't remember the name of it now. Homer is like on the internet gossiping. The third act is basically a parody of the '60s TV show The Prisoner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. We know that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of that
That's
is
the Mr. Rex episode.
Yeah. That's one for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
yes, yeah, there's a lot of that third act is a lot of uh, George Meyer and I laughing our asses off.
And 12-year-old me going, "What on earth is going on?"
Yes, yeah. But we kind of knew it going in, like this is not going to be for everybody.
But who cares at this point, right?
Yeah. It was if we didn't parody The Prisoner, who was going to do it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm almost certain when I last spoke to you, you said that you were the first showrunner to introduce normal working hours for the staff. Is that right?
Yeah, that was kind of one of the
Work-life balance was important to you.
yes, because a lot of you know, there's a lot of like can be in a writer's room. There can be a lot of like goofing around time during the day, and sometimes if you subtract that at the end of the day, like, wait a minute, how many hours did we actually work? And then you realize, oh, instead of going home at 10 or 11, we could have been out the door at 6 and having dinner at, when I started on the show, I was the only one who had kids. So that, I hated like, missing dinners with them and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of a goal of mine around like season 9 to try to get the hours a little under control and prove to the staff that, okay, we're not going to screw off, as much as we do. We'll screw off, but not, it'll be a more, controlled digressions, and we'll do good work and we'll, get out at a reasonable hour. And if we are here at night, there'll be a solid reason for it.
Yeah. I was about to say that goofing around, as you put it. I mean, that's kind of like priming the pump, though, or tilling the soil in a lot of ways. I mean, it's not necessarily, we're just messing around for messing around's sake. It's like, this is going to lead somewhere. I mean, oftentimes it doesn't, but sometimes it really does.
Yeah. But it would be like, a 5 or 10 minute digression versus a half an hour digression.
Okay. You're being more efficient and you're fucking around.
Yes, yeah.
How do you think, if at all, that impacted the show in a positive or negative way?
Well, definitely spouses on the show were very appreciative.
People started having kids.
But also, like, I think at that point, some writers had started having, kids and drawing. I love when you find a great story that comes out of like family life. And it was kind of like Phil Rosenthal, on Raymond, his theory, is if you're just at a TV show all the time, all you're going to eventually, all your stories are going to be about working on a TV show.
Right.
And, that show, had like amazing hours, like we would be out of there. Phil would treat like if it was 4 in the afternoon, Phil would talk like it was 2 a.m. He'd be like, come on, we got to get this. But, the shows came out great. You'd go home and you'd have dinner with your family, or you could actually make plans and have a life outside of the show. And sometimes those things wind up leading to episodes or moments in episodes.
And a lot of those are more emotional moments as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which real life sort of moment excited you the most when you realized this could be a story? Do you ever recall when you were sort of at home and you went, wow, this would be great? Do you have any of those memories?
Oh, man. I know I stole shamelessly from family. There was definitely, oh, man, I'm just drawing some blanks, but because we were always like pulling too, like from our own childhoods. There was a lot of those. Oh, I know, like the last tap dance in Springfield was
Yeah.
at that time, our daughters were heavily into dance classes.
Mhm.
And you always start out with tap and stuff like that. And we had to buy taps for all the kids.
Just
And
tappa, tappa, tappa.
There's the tappa tappa tappa. So
yeah,
you can't say
yeah,
tap dance without saying tappa tappa tappa
tap
now.
tap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That definitely came out of the family, and I'm sure there's many more. Or there's moments for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
or vice versa would be my family using the show against me. Like one day, I told one of my daughters, my daughter Taylor, to clean her room, and that when I got home that night, I said, "I'm going to be checking. This room has to be clean." And I get home, and uh, and first thing I ask her when I come in, uh, I said, "Did you clean your room?" And she goes, "Did I what my what now?" And when your kids can make you laugh like that, like there was no way for me to be mad, and she
Yeah.
hadn't done it, but it was such a huge laugh. Like those kind of moments. You always like remember those things, and it's fun to know. Oh, they're actually paying attention to the show.
Yeah. But you also, as a parent now, you hate those moments where you go, I want to be so annoyed by you right now, but you're making me laugh and I can't.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's always you love it's always fun like watching TV with your kids, but when you see them respond to something, like a smart, like a clever joke or something like that, not the more, not just like Homer getting, hit in the
Mhm.
face or like that. When you see them start to respond to like a word, play or
Yeah.
the cleverness in something, it's a point of pride.
Well, my son now, he's just turned 7, but it was the first quote he ever did. We parked the car in town the other day in the city, and he goes, Dad, remember, we're in the itchy lot. I was like, whoa, you quoted The Simpsons. I've never been more proud.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's quickly skim through. So, favorite moments of Team Homer. For me in particular, this is one of the ones that it's one of my favorite gags I didn't discover until I was a lot older. But it's the home wreckers. I think that is just fantastic. Having Jacques, Princess
Yeah.
Cashmere, Mindy, and Lurleen Lumpkin, just all references to previous episodes of characters that have spoiled the marriage of Homer and Marge. I think it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it was a fun I remember we were trying to come up with that was like a room thing of like coming up with who are these other teams? Like we
Mhm.
need to
Yeah.
see them. What are their names? Who could it be? I wish I could remember exactly who pitched that. I don't think it was in my draft, or it was given to me when I went out to write the draft. But what I love about that one is it just kind of goes by silently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you know, if you know, you know, but otherwise it's not. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
But I did love just the team names in general, and we only see about 4 or 5 of them. Was there just a huge list of teams that just didn't make it into the episode, or was it hard to think of these ones?
I think it was hard to think of these ones. Yeah,
Okay, yes.
I think we considered ourselves lucky we got these.
But the stereotypes was one of your favorites, wasn't it?
I enjoyed that very much.
Yes,
But look, another favourite moments. Superintendent Chalmers' unique way of writing a perfect 10 was marvellous. I'll start with a 0 and now a vertical line to indicate the 1.
Well, yes. That is another like kind of Simpsons staple that I learned, on the show is, they're called like arch jokes, like really where the setup is just so labored
Yeah.
to make it happen,
Yeah.
where you're going so far out of your way to set this joke up. Yeah, I love that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I won't call it a Jerkass Homer moment, but because it's sort of is in some ways, but it almost didn't feel like Homer. It felt more like a Jackie Gleason character or something. It's the suckiest suck that ever sucked thing. But when he's on the phone doing that, but he's like, I got to go. My damn wiener kids are listening. And Lisa's like, we're not wieners. Like, then why are you dressed like that? I mean, that felt like something out of the Honeymooners or something. I thought it was so great, and the way that Dan was delivering that line, it felt like Homer, but it also felt like not Homer. Sorry, I'm normally a little more articulate than this.
Well, he's very much a leader at this point. He's like,
well, that's the thing. Yeah, he's
bravado.
Got his bravado.
Yeah.
Because normally be like, oh, I've got to apologize to the kids for calling him when. It's like, well, why are you dressed like that?
I think it's also a great example of like one of those moments in it, like writing the show of how things get built and people add things to it. Like the suckiest, the suckiest sucks that ever sucked, or suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked. That was in my draft, I believe. And then when we were rewriting, I think Merkin added the, my damn wiener kids are listening. And then I think somebody else added then why are you dressed like that? It's a great example of the teamwork that goes into writing a show.
Ooh, they made us.
Yeah.
I think Mo was the standout for me in this. He had two great lines. The first one for me was that Homer says, we can't leave now because then we'll never know how badly they'll beat us. And he says, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that'll haunt you. And finally, because I think I've caught myself saying this once in day-to-day life. Call this an unfair generalization, but old people are no good at everything.
That was from my script. The reason I remember it is because I did repeat it on Parks and Rec.
Oh wow!
There's a scene where Nick Offerman. The setup is the same. The butt of the joke is different. It's about contractors who are like built houses here, and I think Nick Offerman's character Ron Swanson says, like, call this a sweeping generalization, but all contractors are crooked or something like that. It's the exact same formula.
But it works.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't mess with a winner.
Yeah.
Do you have any more?
I did, but I think one is going to step on your one of your trivia questions,
all right,
which I'm looking at. So.
We'll quick skip the trivia and we'll get into a quick skip through. My first question, how many editions does Mad Magazine put out every year, special editions?
No idea.
Well, you saw the answer. It's 17.
Your screen's right there, man. I can see it. All right. According to Millhouse, who is Mad Magazine socking it to?
Oh, Spiro Agnew.
Yes.
Yes.
Must work there or something.
For our Australian friends, give us a nutshell breakdown of who Spiro Agnew is or was.
Oh, he was Richard Nixon's vice president, who eventually had to leave office in disgrace. There was a scandal that involved money or something. I don't know. It was I forgot exactly what the whole thing was. But yes, he left off. Yeah, it's a name you never hear anymore in American politics.
And it feels like the kind of name that's made up. I mean, all names are made up, but at the same time, it's like, it feels, if you told me this name had been created especially for The Simpsons, I'd go, yeah, I buy it. Spiro Agnew, it's like a real
he was a
person's name.
he was a big comedy reference on shows, even like when I was a kid, like there was show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, which is like a variety show. And I think
the
they
original
would
Sock It To Me. Yeah.
Yes, Nixon actually went on the show and said, sock it to me, which was a big deal that, wow, they got the president to say, sock it to me. But yeah, and Spiro Agnew was like a big comedy reference because it was just a funny name.
That's it. Yeah.
It's just kind of faded away.
I've got a follow-up question to this trivia question. The trivia question is, Skinner was forced to live on a thin stew made up of what ingredients?
Shit.
I remember it's got fish, prawns, and 4 different kinds of rice.
I remember 4 different kinds of rice, yeah.
Vegetables and coconut milk. But I want to talk about just those Skinner war memory moments. Were you a fan of those? Did you have plenty of those just sort of sitting on a whiteboard somewhere that you just wanted to sort of put into an episode when it felt right? Or how do they work?
I believe happened like during the rewrite. Somebody pitched it. I don't recall who, but no, there was no like, it was created on the spot. We had no treasure trove of war memories. It was just something, because I know they wanted to do that shot with the way the lighting changes and the blinds, put the lines on his face.
The Coppola Apocalypse Now lighting.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a great gag, but the way it's presented makes it even better.
Yeah, I like it because even though we're kind of stepping out of the show for a moment to do it, I think it was worth doing.
Did you feel you couldn't do those after the Principal and the Pauper episode? Do you feel he couldn't do those anymore?
I can't remember if we had a conversation about it. It would have been weird to definitely do one like shortly after it. I can't say if there's been any since that time. I actually don't remember.
Did you expect the backlash that came from that episode? Because Bill and Josh had no idea. They didn't think people would care, and they're surprised by how much backlash came from it. What did you think when you first heard the pitch?
I loved the idea and the source material it was based on. I love the idea. It was like kind of a thing that I remember like thinking, gee, I wished we had done this early. If it was going to be done earlier in the show, like in an earlier season, it did feel a little like, well, the character is so well established now and had
Yeah.
been leaned on very heavily. It might have been, it might have just been too much. Maybe the audience, you never know, like, and particularly pre-internet, you still weren't. Well, this wasn't pre-internet, but it was, early on, and you
Pre
don't
social
know,
media.
yeah, how attached to like certain characters people are, or what parts of that character they are, and where can you bend those rules and just try, do something different for an episode. Because I do remember it was a funny pitch when it was pitched. Yeah, it was like very really like well thought out.
Do you think a lot of the issue came from that many people may not have understood the source material? Do you think if they understood what the parody was, they might have been in on the joke?
It's not really a sort of direct lift or
Yeah.
retelling of Return of Martin Gere, which was remade around the same time as they did an American remake, Summersby, with Richard Gere and Jodie Foster. I think it was early 90s, so it could have been fresh in people's minds.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, like, how big of a hit the movie was, the Richard Gere one, but, don't know, it's just one of those things you take, like I said, sometimes you just
Take
take
a
big
swing?
swings,
Yeah.
you take the swing and, sometimes it just doesn't work out, or you'll run in sometimes there are people who love it. You tend to hear more from people who don't like something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
I'd like to rewind just quickly to Skinner's Nam flashback there because it's funny you mentioned before about how the writers' room would come together on a gag, or your Harvard men would laugh at it and be like, I'm not sure I get this. I love Skinner saying, "Will had a good laugh at Up with Miniskirts, even if I didn't quite understand the
yeah.
joke."
Yeah. No, the Skinner's such a great character, and Harry Shearer does such a, incredible
Yeah.
job, with him. Like, you just kinda maybe that's it, you buy this guy so much, you're like the living with his mother and
Mm.
all of the things he doesn't understand, and he's just so befuddled but yet trying so hard to do a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um
Yeah.
It's funny, you asked before about things pulling from the family life
Yeah.
that wind up in episodes, and it's in this episode that holds the B plot, the subplot about school
We
uniforms.
haven't even touched on that yet.
Yeah. At that time, my kids, were in school, and their school was talking about going to uniforms. There was a lot of, like, uproar about kids dressing inappropriately, the pants hanging too low and, the girls with, the crop tops and that kind of stuff of, like, there was, like, some parents that were upset, and there was a lot of talk going on about switching to uniforms, and my kids were really upset about it. In the end, it wound up being voted against. But that's where that came from. It
Yeah.
was talk in our house at the time. They came home one day really angry that this was a possibility.
So I didn't realize as a kid until I watched this episode. I always thought, oh, they just don't wear uniforms on The Simpsons because in Australia
Mm.
we have to wear uniforms when we go to school. It's just part of what we do here. I always
Oh,
thought, and that's why I was always like, why are they so annoyed by it? Like, we wear uniforms. It's no big deal. But as you know, as you were saying in the commentary, it's very important for people to know where you are on the social ladder when it comes to how rich your family is.
well, there's also too. There's like kids want a shirt with like a band name on
Bart
it,
Simpson on it.
or so. Yes, exactly. Which also was happening, when my kids were in school. That the underachiever and proud of it, or who the hell
Yeah.
are you? Like that. I mean, they were. It was banned from schools they were in.
So you knew of The Simpsons, but you just didn't give it a chance because it was an animated show.
Yeah, well, because I had seen the shorts on the Tracy Ullman show.
And they're not great. They're not great.
And like I said, I felt like, well, yeah, I watched cartoons when I was a kid, and so I wasn't big on the shorts. And then I heard they were turning it into a series, and my initial reaction was, a half hour of that every week. Oh my God. Good luck.
Good luck, guys.
So yeah, another thing I was wrong about, but
Yeah. All right. Well, the original air date of Team Homer was January 7th, 1996, written by yourself, Mike Scully, and directed by the legendary Mark Kirkland. Now, the top 3 films, a little bit we do here, top 3 films at the US box office when this episode aired. Number 1 was 12 Monkeys. Number 2 was Grumpier Old Men. And number 3 was Jumanji.
Goodness me.
oh,
That's where we were.
New
That's
Jumanji
where-
coming out this year.
Yes. But you're a big fan of 12 Monkeys, right?
12 Monkeys is fantastic.
Yeah.
Grumpier Old Men, Walter Matthau and Sophia Loren together at last.
So the episode kicks off at the Android Dungeon, but finds Mad Magazine, the special edition, and they talk about how it's socking it to the Spiro Agnew guy. I'm already touched upon how, big fans of Mad Magazine. Mad Magazine reappears in, was this episode you worked on? Was it the City of New York versus Homer Simpson? Was that one of your episodes?
I worked on it. I didn't write that one, but I worked on it. I believe that's a Bill and Josh episode, right?
I think so. I think it's a carryover from season 8, I think.
Yeah.
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 I think it's the premiere episode of season 9, if I remember correctly.
That's where the Bart goes into the Mad Magazine offices, and you see kind of in his head what he's thinking it's going to be
Well,
versus.
Alfred sticks his head out the window at the door.
Yeah.
Yes. But of course, Bart finds the iron-on in the magazine, which Marge thinks creates a dangerous amount of laughter. Homer stuffs up the fold-in. The fold-in, that's what I remember most about the Mad Magazine, because Mad Magazine for me felt like the cool magazine because my friends' older brothers read it. And we would always be looking forward to getting the fold-in. It had already been folded and been folded incorrectly. I could never really get it properly. I never really understood the jokes anyway. I was too young to get it. But I think Homer just thinking he understands the fold-in is just perfect.
Yes, yeah.
What is it? The Almighty Allah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I can't help but see that and think of how much work it was to come up with the words that you could fold together.
I was going to ask that. Yeah, how difficult was this fold-in? Yeah.
Yeah, because we do a lot. We used to do a lot on the show of we've always done tons of sign jokes, but we went through a period of doing signs where letters could fall off and make a different sign.
Yeah.
Sleazy Motel, that thing, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and those became really difficult. It was easier to do just a straight funny sign than to come up with a serious sign and then have letters fall off and spell something else.
Yeah. But we're now cut to Moe's business is stinking tonight. No Barney, Lenny, and Carl. Now, this is obviously just a way to get them out of the episode, right? Because normally they would be on Homer's bowling team, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah. I was a little shocked to hear the mention of their mistresses. Like, wait a
Especially
minute.
Barney.
So they were married and they had mistresses.
Yeah, apparently so, yeah. But he closes up the bar just before the Quimbies are going to be there to drink each other under the table. You're
Yeah,
a big fan of Quimby, aren't you?
Love the Quimbies.
yeah. Same here because I grew up in Massachusetts, so it's
Of course. Gotta drink you under the table.
Homer pleads, my kids are probably, they're probably wondering where their daddy is. We've got to be somewhere else we can go. Think, Mo, think. Cuts to the bowling alley. And so as you say, he can't get a lane on league night. We've already touched on Lunch Lady Doris being his mother. I have no son. Then Mo goes on his rant here about how he tries his hardest not to punch people in the face and only be treated like dirt, but not that fancy store-bought dirt.
Yeah.
And then they come up with the idea of the team. I like the animation here of Homer gets the idea and the bowling light, ding, 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 goes off above his head. And Apu wants to join the team and they need a fourth bowler. It's, of course, Otto. Now, the running story here for Otto is the claw machine. Was that always in the script, the claw machine?
I believe it all. Yes, yeah, it was. I think that was always in there because we knew the payoff.
Yeah.
So did you come up with Otto first or the claw machine first? Because Otto feels like a kind of character you would go, he seems like the kind of guy that would play the claw machine. Or was it Otto first and then you came up with the claw machine concept?
I think we might have had Otto kind of from the start. And then the claw machine, it was an observation on those. They're always in bowling alleys. There's always the claw machine. Because my kids, the endless amount, for some reason, they never get that it's rigged. Even though you tell them flat out.
We say that though. There was one time about 2 weeks ago we went to a bowling alley. It's funny you say that. And there was a claw machine there, and my kid really wanted this Transformer plush. And I said, "You're not spending money on it. It's not going to pick it up." Blah blah blah. And he goes, "Can I just have one go?" And I said, "Look, I'll do it just to prove that it doesn't work." And motherfucker, I picked it up and I got it. And I was like, damn it! This is the one time that I proved that these things don't work, and I fucking done it.
That's
Lousy,
great.
ironic life lesson.
That's great. Yeah. I think my feeling is we probably had Otto, but wanted him doing something because how they were that long hair freak. They're just pointing. So we needed him to be doing something. And I think we put him on the claw machine. Then later on, as we were breaking the story, I think the idea came for the claw machine falling over to be the thing that, that ultimately winds up,
It's so ludicrous, but you believe it because it's The Simpsons.
Yes. Yeah.
How long did it take you to come up with what he was going to be going for? The lobster harmonica.
Somebody pitched it in the room. We were just talking about all the weird stuff that's in those things. And, I can't remember if that was based on anything real, but, it just sounded funny. There were little toy harmonicas in those things. I can't remember why it was the lobster part of it. I don't recall.
You would never, ever, ever pay cash money for that thing in the real world. But if you can get it out of that thing, it's like all of a sudden it becomes like the treasure of the Sierra Madre. It's like, I gotta get this shit.
Exactly, yeah.
But he needs a $500 registration fee, which he doesn't have. So customer Homer and Marge, as we were touching earlier, offering $500 for sex.
Brilliant.
It's a win-win for everybody. Now, the line here where she says, and I don't have that kind of money to spend on sex. I watched this first with reruns. When it was on reruns in Australia, they would cut out that line. And it wasn't until I got the DVDs. I was like, wait a minute. What has happened? So that was my first realization that syndication edits out a lot of jokes on The Simpsons.
Yes. Well, if it's like American TV, when the show first, this is before, DVDs and any of that stuff.
Yeah.
When the show would repeat in syndication, like a year or two later, to add more commercials, they would chop out like another 30 or 45 seconds.
That's a lot of time.
Okay. So it's cut for time, not for content.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think sometimes though, I think they were for the raunchy stuff.
In
Australia anyway.
Yeah.
But she suggests that Mr. Burns should sponsor the team. And he says he already asked $1,500 for him last week. What for? Got to get the third degree from you too. And then Bart reveals he's down with homework shirt. And even as a kid, I'm watching this going, I'm not sure a riot would break out with down with homework, but I like the idea.
That actually was the joke for us, was because we were trying to think of I can't remember what the pitches were. We were trying to think of something first kind of like genuinely shocking.
Mm.
And then most of the stuff that you would come up with, we couldn't show on TV.
Yeah.
And then we kind of doubled back to what if it was like super lame, but just something kids would agree with.
Yep.
Well, as a mill, the shirt makes a good point.
Yes. Watching it again, like Krabappel's reaction of horror as it's revealed, and the kids just rioting and tipping the desk over and it bursting into flames and all that stuff.
That everything is so heightened for something so anodyne. Yeah.
Yes,
when
exactly.
Wolf Castle, that's the joke.
But even like the scene, like Ralph obviously not in Bart's class, but you threw him in there eating the paste. That's another scene that was chopped from this episode in syndication. Ralph eating the paste. Whether it might be some sense of going, kids are going to watch this and think they can eat paste. that was cut out. But then we get Chalmers, who's about to give Skinner for the first time ever a perfect 10. And he does 0 first to the vertical line to indicate the 1. But then the kids start walking all over his head, and Skinner discovers that Bart has the down with homework shirt, and he knows straight away it's from Mad magazine because, as we were touching on earlier, the Up with mini skirts design from Mad, which he had a good laugh even though he didn't really understand it. Now Burns is he sends him home until he think of a proper punishment. Burns is now getting his nails filed and asks for some more ether. I like to leave the rag.
Yeah.
But he has the hallucination and thinks that Homer is Poppin' Fresh. Now, you were touching on, I believe it was you in the commentary, that you really had this vision of squishing Poppin' Fresh when you were a kid watching the commercials. Or was that David Merkin?
I mean, we grew up with that commercial, but Merkin might have had a thing about squeezing it.
Oh, you know what? Because he came up with a gag about being poked in the eye. That was a Merkin gag, the poke in the eye.
Oh, yes. That's very Merkin. Yes, exactly.
And I love Dan's acting, and Homer he's agreeing and like laughing and carrying, but he's also going, it kind of hurts as well. Can we please just stop this? You're poking me in the eye.
There's only so much you can put up with for that $500, but he'll take 1 or 2 pokes in the eye. By the way, forgive me for being ignorant here. I'm guessing Poppin' Fresh is like a brand of marshmallow.
Yeah, that was actually the character name, I believe, or the Pillsbury Doughboy, Poppin' Fresh. I feel like they called him that. Oh God, I'm blanking on that.
This is where we go, hey, Google.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Siri, tell us about Poppin' Fresh.
But it does, the name Poppin' Fresh has one of the best payoffs of all time. A little bit later in the episode when Smithers is trying to find the matches.
Yeah.
I think that actually was the character name from the commercials, the Pillsbury. We called him like the Pillsbury Doughboy, but I think they gave him a name that was actually said in one of the commercial where like he would jump out of the product and then they would say Poppin' Fresh or something.
Widely known as the Pillsbury Doughboy, mascot for Pillsbury Company. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have that here in Australia.
No.
So it was just some random Poppin' Fresh. Okay, sure. I thought it was just some random imaginary friend that Mr. Burns had. That's the way I saw it when I was a kid.
I was like, you guys are ripping off the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. What's going on?
But he has this hallucination, thinks Homer's Poppin' Fresh, gives him the money, races outside. Homer does and says, Burns is doped up or dying or something. Mole Man runs in to get $17, I think, for a replacement
Push broom
reboosting.
reboosting.
Yes. He thinks he's a TV leprechaun, and he drills into his head to get his lucky charms. Poor Mole Man. Then we cut to the Pin Pals writing their logos on their shirts. And I think that just that establishing shot there is enough to set up that these guys aren't going to be, maybe not on the level of bowling wise as elite bowlers, but just not going to be treated as equals either.
Right, yeah.
It does feel like people who do league bowling, there is this era of just unnecessary arrogance. They have their uniforms and they think they're high. And it's like on the bowling lanes, they're God,
Yeah. Yeah. There was a time here, I feel like in the late 70s, early 80s, there was like a fashion thing for a while of people wearing bowling shirts
Really?
Yeah.
to like out to like a club. You'd go see a band or somebody would wear a bowling shirt. It became like a style. And I feel like Two and a Half Men, Charlie Sheen would sometimes
That's right. Yeah.
wear these things. Yeah. And maybe Kramer on Seinfeld. I can't remember.
He did, yeah. He was like the lobster. Speaking of lobsters, he had the lobster shirt, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember having a couple of those bowling shirts too and going out with my friend. And the big joke was it would have somebody else's name on it. Like, look, I'm wearing a shirt that says Stan. And my name's Mike. Get it?
It's sort of got a reboot in the late 90s, sort of around that whole
Big Lebowski.
hipster swing dance era.
Yeah. Yes, I think you're right. Yes. Yeah.
Expect to see Vince Vaughn in one of those shirts.
You would too, yeah. But so that they walk in, they get mocked by the TV stars. What was their team called?
I forgot
The Channel 6 team. Anyway, Ken Blockman.
This just in, you guys suck.
Yeah, worst dressed list. Then Apu wants to leave. He can't handle the harassment. Homer says we can't leave now because we'll never know how badly they'll beat us. That's the kind of stuff that will haunt you. Then they're bowling, and Bumblebee Man taunts them. And what do you say? Is that about me? Is that about me? And Otto, don't choke. I knew I was going to choke. And Mo growls at him, but this is where Homer gets the idea to let's win via support. Let's
be
sing
the
our
team that
songs
supports each other.
And the song is just so fun. And like, did you have fun writing these little random songs in The Simpsons?
Yeah, anytime you're doing something like a little different than what you normally do on the show, it was fun to come up with these little, chants. It was kind of a very positive, type joke for the guys to do together, and the fact that Homer was leading it.
Yeah, it was also a deliberate choice to leave out seeing Otto get the 7-10 split.
I was wondering, it was a weird moment when I rewatched it. So I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Because I think it works funny. It's like, hey guys, I won. We won.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, you're among friends. You can tell us. You really just put Otto in there just so you could name check Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto. It's all right. Everybody does a bit of reverse engineering. It's fine. But classic moment. Loved it.
I wouldn't put it past us, to be honest.
I do love this next bit of Homer trying to retell the story to Marge about how he thought of the chant that won the match when really she's more infatuated by the fact that Otto got the 7-10 split.
He's phenomenal. Yeah. Wow.
But I'm the one that came up with the whole team idea. Me!
Yeah. Marge is always fun when she's kind of obsessed with something you wouldn't think she would be obsessed with.
Potatoes?
Yeah, like the Otto one and the other, I forgot what episode, where she has Milhouse's teeth or something.
Yeah, that's right. Lisa on Ice.
Oh, that's right. It's Lisa on Ice.
Why do you still have those?
Yeah. It's just like so unexpected from her.
And when Milhouse comes to collect them.
Yes, yeah.
Do you have my teeth? But now Skinner and Lunch Lady Doris are revealing the new school uniforms. And I love Doris's delivery of Silence.
Yeah.
And the brand of clothing, did you see it?
I'm sorry, I gave a shout out to Mr. Boy of Main Street before, but I just think that's such a great name. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of sucks. It's the suckiest thing that ever sucked, actually. In the 2020s, that everything's so homogenized. Everything is the Gap or everything is Uniqlo or whatever. And you used to have in little towns, you'd have like, oh, that's where you go for your menswear. You'd go to Mr. Boy and get fitted for your first suit or something like that, run by some family that's run it for God knows how long. But yeah, Mr. Boy of Main Street and Mr. Boy for girls. But you're right about Doris's readings of those, that whole fashion parade thing, and Martin coming out and just being an absolute little flouncing. Ponce.
The Pin Pals now beat the DMV Regulation Kings. Then it's time for the Springfield Police Framers. Again, Wiggum being an idiot.
Right.
Let Snake go. They forfeit. Now they get to second on the ladder pretty quickly, and the only, even as a kid, I couldn't quite understand the logic of. So they were second, and then they started losing a bunch of games, but they're still in the championship game. I couldn't work out that logic.
Oh, God. I didn't really pay that close attention.
Somebody got fired for that blunder.
It doesn't matter, though. But then the Holy Rollers, they've won it 5 years in a row because Homer thinks we're going to win the championship this year. I do love it when Flanders gets to play villain. And he's not being an out-and-out villain here, but he is the villain because he's better than these guys.
Yeah, he's got the deadly sin of pride.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah.
But they think they're high-minded just because they've never been caught wearing no pants in church, as Mo says. Then Flanders leaves one pin behind. Homer mocks him. This is an example of a classic gag you could not do in live action. So Flanders talks to God. God knocks over the pin and then zaps Homer through the bowling machine.
Yeah, no, it's a very cartoony joke. But
Yeah. Bart and Lisa are then ranting about their uniforms, and then they overhear Homer using the word suck. We've already touched on this. And then we get the nothing's going to stop us now. Another great cut. Stop everything. I don't remember writing a check for bowling. No, it's bowling. I love the payoff to the bowling later on.
Yeah.
There's so many great setups and payoffs throughout this episode.
Yeah, there is. Did you find that important that you had to sort of have a payoff for every gag? You didn't just have a gag for the sake of a gag. Everything had to have a reason for being there.
It wasn't so much that we felt we had to do it, but if you had a way to make something not seem so random and use it and actually pay it off, it just made it for us, I think, just a little bit richer.
Yeah.
That we could have done some other joke that had nothing to do with the other, but it's always that thing of like, it's not quite a callback, which sometimes we shy away from, but it's something to make it look planned when it wasn't.
Why would you shy away from a callback?
Oh, sometimes it's something we do, like, I think just generally in comedy, you like pick your spots and you don't want to fall in. It's an easy habit to fall into.
Yep.
And so you just want to be careful that you're not doing it too often. But then when you do it, it's worth it.
Because you don't want to feel like you have to do it. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But then Smithers looks up to think who could it be that Mr. Burns got confused with. He has, now I mentioned earlier, Pops Freshenmeyer. So he is never mentioned again. He's never seen again, but he's so iconic. Pops Freshenmeyer.
Yeah.
I want to know his backstory. Did you ever find yourself when you would create characters like this that you would create a backstory for them in your own head?
No, well, particularly like that particular joke, it just came out of the room.
Yeah.
Somebody in the room pitched that. Yeah. So yeah, there's no time for that. It's you just you needed a funny name and someone came up with one.
Dana doesn't want the Apu spin-off. He just wants the Pops Freshenmeyer solo show. But Pops Freshenmeyer Variety Hour.
Burns then says it's time to shut them all down. We cut to the Pin Pals beating the Homewreckers, which I think is just fantastic. Then Burns and Smithers arrive to spoil the party, and he turns out he's not going to shut them down. He saw them defeat the Homewreckers, and he wants in on this. He wants to see, I can't read the exact words, basically he wants to feel the feeling of making people feel bad by defeating them in bowling.
Yeah.
And he wants to join the team because he hasn't felt this energized since his last bowling. And then the team, they don't want Mr. Burns on board. And Homer's like, well, look, because he's in a predicament here. Again, it's his boss. He's the guy that's sponsored. Let's just give him a shot, and if he really stinks, it'll be easy to tell him no. The animation here is absolutely fantastic of Burns struggling with the ball. I just think the animation in general was just great in this. I think Mark Kirkland did a fantastic job just making the bowling alley so, I don't know, interesting. But just the animation of Burns trying to push the ball and the little final detail of the tongue on the ball when he's passed out.
Yeah.
Smithers realizes this, races down, kicks the pins over. Homer's, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
It wasn't any easier. I think we've all had those moments where it's like, I'm fucked. I had to do this. I'm sorry.
No, Mark and his team did a great job on this. I was loving. There's the little shot of Burns' fingers over the
yes, at the end.
blower.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of grossed out by.
And even the sound, everything is just it's great.
Yeah.
The kids are now at school. They're all broken, walking through the hallway, blinking in unison. And Skinner loves that sound. Then Mrs. K, she's making sure the desk is parallel to the rear wall. Bart can't remember what he's supposed to do in this situation. Nelson can't remember how to say ha-ha. Then Otto is now been kicked off the team, so he's gone back to the claw machine. He says he'll earn their respect by getting a Harvard diploma, which is in the machine as well. And now Burns has cost them their third game in a row. They've lost to the stereotypes, which again, as you said, the Apu line at the end of that is fantastic, isn't it?
They begged
me to join their team. Now they're having drinks after. I think this is actually a really sweet moment where you realise Burns just likes being a part of this unit. He feels like he's part of the team, and it's seeing a vulnerable side that we wouldn't normally see. Homer says that next week is the championship game, and Burns says that the only ship that matters is friendship. I thought this was great. This is the perfect example of sneaking as many jokes into a line as possible. It's not so he puts the friendship in the beer. It drops into the beer. That's annoying in itself. He then reaches into the beer, annoying again. Realizes he's lost a nail, right? Another joke. That's leprosy for you. That's 4 jokes in the base of one sentence.
How many hats can you put on these hats?
It just keeps going and going and going, but then it ends with, again, great direction, great animation of Apu and Mo sort of looking away going, dude, something needs to be done here. We can't have him on the team. We want to win this championship. Now at the school, this is the scene where how long did it take you to come up with this ending where the water was going to be your out, the fact that they weren't color fast?
Oh gosh, I remember we did. It was definitely like room created, and I wish I could remember who actually came up with it. But yeah, we did need a kind of a quick way out of it because it's a subplot. You know, you don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but we wanted it to be visually funny. I don't remember any of the other things that were pitched as a possible way out because it was 30 years ago. But
do you think subplots are important for Simpsons episodes in particular? Because Lisa on Ice, you didn't really have one, but this one here you did. Was it brought in because could you not flesh out the A plot for a full 22?
I think sometimes it's a matter of you either don't have enough story, for the A story, so you need something else, or like the family characters don't really fit in the A story.
Yep.
So you're looking for something else, as a kid. And I think in this particular one, it was like the whole family kind of didn't fit in because we had Homer with his friends, plus you had Burns. There wouldn't have been a lot for the family to do. And like I said, I had the story about school uniforms. So I think, I'm sure Merkin said it should be something that involves the kids and so that's probably where that came from.
When you were showrunner, did you come to a point where you sort of thought it doesn't matter if the main family are really front and center for an episode? Like, what point did you feel like in The Simpsons, might have been before you became showrunner, where you realized they don't have to be front and center all the time?
It depends on the story that you're doing. You do try, like when we would have the table reads, we didn't like it if there was like a character, like one of our core, like one of the family members who only had a couple of lines in the episode. We would look for ways to kind of beef that up a little bit if we could. We always felt it was better if everybody had something to do in it. Once in a while, it just doesn't work out, or like you're in editing and the show's too long, and then you might have to take away some things there. But we did try, particularly, back then, we always tried to make sure all the family had plenty to do.
Yeah. Again, so as I said here, it starts raining, the kids' clothes start getting all, what would you call it? Psychedelic acid.
Tie-dyed.
Yeah, tie-dye. That starts looking tie-dye.
Yes, yeah.
It's the same store he bought his mother's clothes. He races off, and this I got to see.
It's a very Woodstock kind of moment. I think
There's
at least one shot in there that's a real sort
Yeah.
of visual homage to Woodstock.
Yeah. Homer's now sad because the team's going to lose, and he spent so much time building that trophy case. Now, this, again, we've touched on it in the commentary. We've touched on it before when we did our review many years ago. The trophy here wasn't the original trophy. The original trophy from the original airing was I can't pronounce the name. It's
Angus Noor.
Noir, yeah.
Or
who
yeah,
tragically was murdered.
I believe
Yes.
so. I think he was shot to death. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was he won Best Supporting Actor for his role in The Killing Fields.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there was fear that once in syndication that people would think, oh, Homer, the joke was Homer killed him to get the trophy, which you couldn't.
exactly. Yeah, it suddenly gave it this backstory that we didn't want. So yeah,
Yeah.
we switched. Yeah,
Makes perfect sense, yeah.
Yeah.
And Don Amici's a new one, yeah. Then Marge, then
I just think it's hilarious that he tries to flush it down the
oh
toilet.
yeah, Marge, someone broke the toilet. Then the Holy Rollers arrive for the championship game. Mo has a plan, except this time it doesn't work out well. So he's going to take out Burns' leg, much like.
It's the Tonya Harding,
Yeah.
Nancy Kerrigan.
But
yes, yeah.
but-
When did that actually happen? Was that how early in the 90s was that? Was it a relatively recent incident?
It was. Yeah, it was. It was in like, let's see, this would have been like 95. So yeah, it was just like probably a couple of years before,
Yeah.
and it was still very much in the news because of the trial, and
That's right.
the guy, Tanya Harding's husband, had a great comedy name with Jeff Galooly.
But Mo fixes Mr. Burns' leg here, so now he's actually going to be able to bowl. And he says we've got to kick him out of the team, and this is where he reveals, as I'm wearing the Pin Pals, he reveals the Pin Pal shirts that he's gone out and made for them, which is a really sweet moment. Mr. Burns,
Yeah.
he's a kind person here. You know, we've seen the best of Burns, and even Mo and Apu, they've changed their tune. As Apu says, finally a garment fine enough to be married in. And then, as he said, Homer, you're off the team. Even when he's trying to do the right thing, he can't do it, the poor guy.
Yeah.
But the Holy Rollers all bowl their strikes as Mr. Burns, his ball's on its way down, which apparently was really hard to direct. Mark said in the commentary that trying to make it naturally look like the ball was going all the way down slowly whilst they bowled strikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then-
Yeah.
We get that really fantastic shot of the point of view from behind the pins, and you think
Yeah.
it's Mr. Burns. Great shot,
Yeah.
Homer. Which is amazing. And now the Holy Rollers are ahead by one pin, and there's only one bowler left, Mr. Burns. And again, as we get the fingers on the fan, and just there's a shot there where it's going. The first one's a gutter ball, and it's going along the edge. And Mark calls it a specific type of shot. I can't remember what he says in the commentary, but when the ball's rolling along the edge of the gutter.
Oh, I didn't know that it had a specific name.
Yeah,
But,
he says this is a something shot, which is really difficult to pull up, but it just looks fantastic the way it's rolling. It genuinely feels like you somehow managed to make this feel like an action movie.
It's
Like
very cinematic.
yeah, it's very cinematic. Yeah,
Yeah.
But at the same time, Otto, whatever he's got a hold of, it's big, and turns out it's the screw of the machine. Mr. Burns' ball knocks the two pins. Otto tips the machine over, rocks the whole place. The two pins fall over. They win the trophy. But it turns out that Mr. Burns just wants the trophy now for himself because he's had the trademark change of the heart.
Yeah.
Right. And the second change of the heart came out of, it wasn't planned. Like when we did the first one to do the second one, it's
Yeah?
just when
Okay.
we got to that spot of the story and during the rewrite, we like, oh God, it's going to take, we would have to come up with some more like emotional, real reason of like why is he now going back to? And then I believe it was Merkin who came up with the line, "I've had another one of my unpredictable changes of heart."
It sounds like
And-
Merkin was the real go-to guy in this time.
He's a very funny guy. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another one I want to kick off my bucket list at some point. But what was your original ending to? Did you have an ending to this script? Your first draft.
Oh, I'm sure it did, but I don't remember.
Don't recall,
I haven't looked at the draft in years. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Did you keep the drafts? Do you keep all these drafts from back in the golden era?
I have some.
Yeah.
I have a lot of boxes that I have to go through.
I feel like there could be a Simpsons museum with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but which we were not thinking about at the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think
was
like
it-
I think Bill and Josh were great about saving.
Josh in particular,
I
he's
think
got
it- yeah.
everything.
we
Yeah,
were
I think
astonished
they
that
did,
Josh
and
just
I
had this
believe.
stuff in his garage. And we're like,
Yeah, I think David Cohen has a lot, but and for a long time I was saving all like storyboards, and
Yeah.
now I just have a few, but they take up so much room. They're like phone books, you know.
Well, I'll give you my address. You can just send them here. I'll pay for the postage. That's fine.
Yeah.
or you could put in a good word with Jim Brooks and Matt Groening, and there's a couple of guys in Australia who would be happy to curate the Simpsons Museum for a very reasonable salary.
I start to see stuff now, and I look at it like I wonder like what my kids like after I die, like they're gonna, well, what do we do with all this crap?
But then again, obviously the episode ends with Homer, the big embrace. Oh, we don't need that trophy. Yeah, we got each other. No, cuts to Homer trying to steal it. They're saying, go on, Homer. If you can't do it, no one can. My favorite line the whole episode, I think, is Otto going, well, I guess no one can.
Yeah.
And they all run and leave Homer to be eaten. Yeah.
That might have been, God, I would have to go back and find it. I think that was a different ending. And I feel like we, during a rewrite process, maybe at the animatic stage or something, we got rid of what we had and came up with that faster ending that you could just cut to of him stealing the trophy back. But I can't remember what the old ending was.
Well, this one's perfect.
Yeah, no, great pacing, great editing in this episode as well. Yeah.
All right, so that is Team Homer. Now, obviously, Mike, we've kept you long. We're very, very appreciative. Thank you so much for your time. But before we let you go,
it's my pleasure.
We sent you the idea.
The sun has definitely gone down.
It's now the next day. So we ask everyone. It's 1998 or whenever you want. It's late 90s, early 2000s. You've been asked by Fox to put together a 5-episode Simpsons marathon for a Friday night. Which episodes are you choosing?
All right. And when I did ask you a follow-up on this, I said,
you did.
I said, do they have to be shows just prior to that? Or you said
the year doesn't matter. It's just, as I said, we usually get guests on who stopped watching the show in the 90s. So we just go 98, 99. But you do it any era you want. 5-episode marathon.
All right. I'll rattle off 5 now. Bart sells his soul.
Mm-hmm. For what reasons?
I just remember like when Greg Daniels pitched that story, it just sounded like so emotionally rich, and you could see the potential for comedy, but also it just, I don't know, it's just one that I think really holds up, and the animation is terrific on there. So it's just one that kind of stayed with me because I hadn't been there all that long, and I remember thinking like, wow, this show can really go places into areas that I would not think of for an animated show. Summer of 4'2".
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic one.
I love, because I remember like a lot of talking in the room about that, about like going on a summer vacation to a place where there's
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yes, and there's kids there who don't know you.
Yeah, you've got the opportunity to be whoever you want to be.
Exactly. Yes, and it was a very relatable emotion. Natural born kissers.
Yeah. Okay.
Is fun. I love when Homer and Marge are in a jam together, where it's not Homer versus Marge. They've kind of, well, and you referred before that they have kind of a rock and sex life. And the two of them in this jam, and also because the network, it was, I think we may have talked about this one. It was the first time the network sent a note, like not on a specific joke, but on the entire script of like,
wow.
We don't think you should do this episode.
Did you write back too bad?
Yeah, which just made us want to do it more.
Yeah. I remember when that was first marketed in Australia, it was the first ever adults only Simpsons airing, not at 7, but at 9:30 p.m. And I was like, Mum's like, well, you're not watching that one. And I remember I set my little VHS and I recorded
it really?
On the sly. Yeah, and I watched it going, oh, God, that's not that bad.
Yeah. Oh, and I should say too, like Summer of 4'2", I believe was Dan Graney. Natural Born Kissers is Matt Selman.
Yep.
And oh shoot, now I forgot who wrote this. This next one is recent. It's Oh Come On, All Ye Faithful.
Oh yeah, the Disney Plus special. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was terrific, and it was fun I just watched it as a viewer. I had nothing to do with it.
That must be great. Yeah.
Yeah, and to do an hour-long episode that doesn't feel like an hour long, like, a lot of times when comedies go long, you can feel the padding, you can feel what should have been cut. And this show just didn't have it. There was enough story, and it's a great Christmas episode, and we're still close enough to Christmas. People should go to Disney Plus and watch it.
Yeah.
It's a terrific episode, and I'm forgetting who wrote it now. Is it Carolyn Omine?
Oh, maybe. She's one of my favorite Simpsons writers. I love Carolyn Omine.
Yeah, she's great.
I'll look up the writer while
yeah.
you tell us your 5th episode for your marathon.
And this one, you will not have an
It was
opinion.
Carolyn, by the way. It was Carolyn. Yeah.
It was, yeah. It's a terrific episode. And I had the pleasure the other day. I happened to be on the lot. I dropped by the lot and went into editing with Matt Selman and Christine Nangle for what is going to be the 800th episode. And I'm not going to say what the plot is or tell anybody anything about it, but it was fun to see it. It's in the color stages, and it was hilarious, and it's a really fun episode, and everybody should check it out when it comes on.
Well, we've got Matt coming on the show tomorrow, so I'm going to say, hey, Scully told us all about the 800th episode. Great story. No, well, that's a great. I like that you've expanded it here. It's not just what people call the golden era. It's it's a bit of new, a bit of old, because the new episodes are genuinely great. We reviewed the premiere episode of season 37. We thought it could have been up there with like a season 7, season 8 episode. We thought it was really great. Yeah,
I had a really hard time. Like, it's so hard to come up with 5. It was like, it would be almost easier to come up with 50.
Yes. All right. Well, Mike, thank you again for your time here reviewing Team Home. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been, 6 years in between episodes. Let's not make it 6 years again, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come back anytime. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks very much, Mike.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.